From the New York Post office in Manhattan, I'm Mark Hale for the New York Post, and we're going to talk to Dan Martin today to do a look ahead at the Mets' second half here at the All-Star break. And Dan, you cover the team all year, and as you look into the second half, which is going to start this weekend against the Phillies at Citi Field, what's the biggest issue for this team in the second half of the season?
Well, Mark, I think the biggest thing right now is going to be the next few weeks, how the team plays and how they act going towards the trade deadline. I think it's been on everyone's mind for most of the season. What are they going to do with the guys like Carlos Beltran, Francisco Rodriguez, and Jose Reyes, guys who are could be impending free agents? You know, Beltran and Reyes will be. Rodriguez might be, and so that's been on the forefront of everyone's mind since day one. And now that the trade deadline is coming up on July 31st, it's going to be an even bigger issue. I think that Sandy Alderson, the GM, has already said that he's talking to guys and laying out kind of a map of what he wants to do. I think that the recent West Coast trip, they played pretty well, but they really aren't making too much headway in the wild card race. So it would be a surprise at this point if K-Rod isn't shopped pretty significantly, and if Beltran isn't dealt somewhere within the next few weeks. Reyes is a different story now that he's on the disabled list, and we don't know when he's going to come back. So there's a better chance than ever that he's going to stay through at least the rest of this year. But I think for the next few weeks, everyone's going to be talking about where these guys are going to wind up and how do the Mets handle the situation.
Yeah, what about the injured guys that the Mets have right now? There's three huge players in particular that are rehabbing in Port St. Lucie: David Wright, Ike Davis, Johan Santana. What's the status of each of those players, and is it possible that the Mets will get any or all of them back in the second half of the season?
Well, I think the best chance of coming back for any of these players is David Wright. He's supposed to play in some rehab games down in Port St. Lucie this week, coming back from his the stress fracture that he suffered in his back, and that's obviously taken a long time for him to come back from. But he has taken some positive steps, and there's been setbacks here and there. But I would be very surprised if he didn't come back at some point. Ike Davis is an unusual situation. You know, the bone bruise and the cartilage damage in his foot, and they just really haven't gotten a good read on that injury. But there has been some good news lately, which is the first time in recent memory for Davis that he was able to put pressure on his foot without feeling any pain. So, you know, there's a chance that he might be a little further along than we had thought, because it just seemed for about a month there that he had nothing but bad news and nothing but setbacks, and they put him in a boot that might have made things worse. So it was really a calamity of errors there with Ike. And then obviously Santana has, continues to make small strides, throwing off the mound, being able to make some pitches, but he's, nowhere near 100%. They still need to go through a spring training type of situation for him. So I can't imagine he would be back before, August or September. And at that point, if they've already traded Beltran, if they've managed to trade Rodriguez, then I would imagine they'd be extra cautious with bringing Santana back for any length of time this year, because there's almost no point in bringing him back up other than to prove to him or to other teams that he still has it, because it's a tough surgery that he had that Mark Pryor and Jin-Ming Wang also went through and never really quite recovered from. So there's still going to be a lot of questions about Santana for quite a while.
Right.
But at least in recent weeks, there just hasn't been too many setbacks, which for the Mets is good news.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with all the injured players, plus the trade deadline with the Mets. A lot of action involving Johan Santana, David Wright, Ike Davis, Jose Reyes, Carlos Beltran, Francisco Rodriguez. Maybe the six most important players on the team. Those are involved in the two biggest issues with the team in the second half. And the second half starts this weekend at Citi Field against the Phillies. Dan will be there. I will be there. You can check it out in the New York Post. From New York Post headquarters, I'm Mark Hale.